All right, so this is going to be a little breakdown of my song Reflection, which is a cute little ditty of a pop song that I wrote probably. This song could be as old as like 2019, 2020, just because I like just dragged it along and I don't know, I like picked it up, put it down. I think 2020, with all the time on our hands, I felt compelled to finish it. Um, I was messing around with synths a lot, and I think one of the first packages I got was the Roland Cloud, which is pretty cool. I don't know if it's particularly my favorite, but you can still get great sounds on it. But I use it every now and then. And with synthesizers, you can do an arpeggiated one note, which sounds like fucking super cool. And I wanted to write a song around this particular progression. Time out, chill out. So I had the chords, and I basically built up the whole song around that bass line and like this dancey kind of disco beat. Drums are super simple. The chords loop literally the entire time. I suppose it was a good writing exercise for what it was. And yeah, I just had this synth. It sounds like kind of minery. Doesn't really sound like, too much of a happy song. And here's some piano that I did. So over the whole first verse, that basically is like a filter that goes from that expands from low pass and lets in higher frequencies. And that was basically the loop. And it just keeps going. I had a lot of fun designing this because it has this locked in, like I said, a locked in disco beat. It has kind of a bounce to it. And I had my brother record drums. Shout out to Mr. Kevin. And I will say this session, because of how early it was in my recording process, as a bedroom recorder, it's beyond simple. I don't necessarily like some of the EQing choices that I made. I think ultimately the song came out great from my mixer, but showing stuff like I didn't effectively bust things properly. I didn't, use input levels properly. Like all my busting, everything's just a mess. So you will hear and see things that are subpar, which I'll be humble. I'm like, you got to start somewhere, and you'll just see crazy stuff like these, like comp and drum crush. I'm like, why did I do that? I could have just routed it and did it differently, but I didn't. So those mistakes in mind, I had my brother send me drums. Ultimately, let's back this train up. So I'm gonna leave the bass in. I'm gonna leave the piano in. The verse basically starts off with a straight ahead, kick and snare. So I have overhead, a 909 kick, which is supplementing the kick in. I have the kick sidechain and chair. So I have a kick that's like controlling like the ducking of the synth bass, and 909 snare, that's supplementing the snare top, snare bottom, hi-hat, and some hi-hat stuff, and a crash. So let's see. It would help if I unmute the bus. So that's the 909. Great kick sound. And then I wanted the white noisy kind of snappy snare that the 909 is. The snare top I kept a little bit bulkier on the bottom for low ends. I think in the mix that's what was beefed up. I don't think it was the 909. I could be wrong. And a little bit of snare bottom. So all this together. Pretty simple. The one thing that I do love about this song is how much extra ear candy goes on that you wouldn't necessarily pay much attention to. And let's take a gander. Let's zoom down. So, and I auditioned, I think, for this song, and it's probably one of the most fun things to do when you're sound designing, is trying to find the correct marriage of sounds that belong in the song. Sometimes you can have like one random one and it just blends in. You're like, cool, this sound fits great with the others because it's not really like it, and it's a little weird, but it still works. So with this song, I did a lot of searching for appropriate complementary sounds that all blended together in like this kind of 80s disco, I don't know, pop tune kind of thing. So those beats come in, and then I have a verse pad that kind of swims a little bit. Let me mute the bass because that's eating up some frequencies. Same chords as the chorus. And I think at the time I was thinking very Max Martin, so of course, very dance track of me. The chorus pad just carries the upper frequencies. I'll go back to the drums in a bit. So I'm gonna mute some of that stuff now, and then get into the guitar stuff. So put a pin in that. I did not have the best recording anything at that time. I probably had my universal audio. I was probably recording guitar into this improperly. I have a great pedal board, so I'm able to achieve a lot of sounds and then obviously manipulate those with plugins and whatnot. But it's just funny how you can have super simple guitar like this, a total of 5 tracks, and it sits in the song the way it needs to sit. It doesn't sound too expensive, but it doesn't sound cheap. It does its job, and I'm actually really happy that I didn't have to re-record some of this or, buy more expensive gear to soup up the sound, because now I'm getting sounds better than I was, 3 years ago, but I'm glad that what I recorded worked. So that's the left. Big fan of upstrokes. Sounds like chorus, and there's probably some Digitech on it. Octave up. Same thing on the right. And the upstrokes are nice because it adds this chimey effect to it. So instead of hearing the low frequencies of the strum, and that the attack starting with the lower, whatever frequencies, like the mids, it's nice that when the attack of the guitar comes in on all of these guitar pads, you hear all of the top strings, so like the E, B, G, and like the strum down, and it's percussive. Those highs cut through immediately, so like you hear it and it grabs you, because this isn't necessarily like a palm mute part or like this chunky guitar riff kind of a thing. More atmospheric. This one's a little bit more hollow. A little bit of verb. Probably through Strymon. Same thing. So all these together. So you have like this weird garbled Digitech stuff going on, but then I decided to do another Digitech. So it kind of has this really heavily compressed organ type sound. And that's just one guitar, and I just probably panned it, did a little bit of millisecond delay to separate it. And it has kind of a creepy sound to it, but then when you pair that creepy guitar sound to the synth stuff that I just showed you, it blends really, really well in a major minor sort of way, because the progression is minor. This sounds creepy, but some of the chords that I chose to do on the synthesizer carry more of a major tone at times. Like that high, that pad, that major chord carries the whole uplifting vibe of the chorus in such a great way, so that when the chorus comes in, it just lifts, and it takes away from it feeling like this super downer, of a song that it could be, and gives it more of like this uplifting, like, hope thing, which kind of also centers around what the vocals were about. To keep the song moving forward, and with the guitar parts that I had with the Digitech, I took that sonic realm and decided to throw this organ pad in. It's just chilling back there. Better than silence. And I will say that, let me unmute some stuff. I had to separate the bass into two parts. The low part. So let's start this at the top of the second verse. So one that just carries the low end. Pretty sure it's a Juno, as it would say at the bottom of the screen. Genius. And then System 8 maybe, System 1, Roland, and that one carries all the upper information. So I split those two, easier to control how much low end is cutting through without like affecting the compressors, and then the other one has like more grit to it, completely different sonic feel with, you know, it's in full open mode in the chorus. And together that it just really fills in. And then in the verse it goes back to its little low pass mode. So I bring the beeps back in the second verse. Bring this pad back. But while I was sound searching, it could have been on the JV 1080, one of the multi, sound workstation keyboards, whatever that's in the Roland cloud. This immediately jumped out to me. I thought it was incredible. Still the same chords as the verse. And that's like the natural sound of it. It's crazy. And I didn't do anything to it. I didn't add any effects to it. And I might add like some distortion to it, but I'm pretty sure that's the sound with some EQ. And I was like, fuck, that has to be in the song. This piano goes behind it. Pretty sure it's low in the final mix because probably just cause. And then I did a bell sizzle too, which is interesting. A couple things. A wood block. Who doesn't love a wood block? Sounds like Woody the Woodpecker just like going at it. Here's a bell sizzle. I think that was the sizzle that I meant, like the drum sizzle. So those little additions in the second verse really elevate, I don't want to say the intensity, but it elevates what I would like to think as, if you're looking at the song so far in, a three-dimensional soundscape, introducing these crazy sounds that sound like that are making their first appearance in the song. It's almost as if you're like knocking down a wall and opening up a new room in this room, that this 3D soundscape that you're already in. And every time you hear a new sound, they're like something that comes in that opens up new space. It just feels like things keep getting bigger. And then when you take it away, especially when you go into the chorus and go back to the elements that you've already heard, it brings you back to what's familiar, and it's more intimate and it's closer. So this is the verse with all of those elements in. If I gotta mute the drums first. Okay. Or not, there's probably something else to unmute. Yep. Also, fun fact, I'm going to highlight the drums for a second. I was listening to Mac Miller a lot when I was doing this song at this time. And this is 100% like ode to Mac Miller ladders with the hi-hat pattern. 100% Mac Miller. And so that, I was probably addicted to ladders at the time, and I was like, man, I can't stop listening to the song. And it just felt cool to incorporate this percussive thing that makes an appearance once. It doesn't happen again in the song. It didn't happen in the first verse. And it just exists for, what is that? 20 seconds. And it's great. It's simple. To me, I think it's dope as fuck. It just grooves. Takes it out of straight land and gives it a little bit of swing and flow. You have to have a big clap on the floor. I mean, Michael Jackson did it, why not? Well, Jupiter 8. Alright, so before we get into the bridge, that synth is definitely an ode to the Cars. I don't even know. I think at this point I was just adding so much shit in. I was like, yeah, that belongs in the song. Where's my little Cars thing? Yeah, I love that. So, yeah, it looks like Jupiter 8, Hawk lead. Cool. And then as the chorus finishes and is about to move into the bridge, I wanted to add anticipation and suspense. So what better than Ebo reversed? I remember I did that and I was like, this is incredible. And Ebos are so effective in so many ways, and this is one of them. Let's see. I want to say, yeah, I used Pan Man to give them wiggle. So the Pan Man is giving him wiggle both in mono left and then mono right. And then that first note is the note that the bridge starts out on for the instrumental. The other thing that I also added, I call them chukka chukkas because that's what they are. So that Ebo happens, and I used Echo Boy and Valhalla, but I basically just did a atonal chuck on the guitar, made it sound like it was in a room. So those two together, and that is like the little bit of wind up to get into the bridge. Something that I realized on the final mix that was included and selectively included, I believe, and this is like very dancey of me to include this. I call it the pad pump, which sounds like a zipper. Ultimately, I think in the mix it's on the opposite side. I think it's in the right side of the stereo field, opposing, I think, the hi-hat. So it's like you hear it's in there, it's tucked way in there, but it's just a texture that it's different, it feels good, it sounded good. Let's see, chorus 2, I might not have touched upon this, but this is a high chorus pad on top of the other chorus pad. probably doing the same thing. Correct. So that gives the second chorus a little bit more lift. I'll get into the vocals in a little bit because then harmonies are coming in. All right, so provided everything is unmuted, we can get back into the bridge. So this was one of the coolest things I think I've ever written. Initially, I think this was recorded in Ableton because I didn't have Pro Tools yet. And I had to, I think, re-record the guitar because it just sounded like complete shit. So let me do this. So there's a melody that I carry between a few different guitar parts. Actually, let's go to the clean guitar. Sorry, everything's in call and response because I'm fucking doing shit in the stereo field. So on top of that, I have fuzz, just for some grit. Clean gives it definition, fuzz gives it grit. Now what's cool is, sounds fine, it's great. I add these bends in and then do a droney bend to lift the second half of the bridge. But you can't hear it because I have too much shit going on. That's more fuzz guitar. That's not what I want. I guess it's up here. Clearly I know this session like the back of my hand. So this lifts the entire back half of the bridge, and I'm pretty sure it's just a semitone. It's just going like a half step. That's it. And adds so much suspense to it. So if I add these back in, cool. Sounds good, but what if we add the guitar layers in? That chord, which, because there's a capo on the first fret in this song, because for whatever reason, felt like having the song not in, what key is the song in? F sharp minor. I wanted it to be in G sharp, or actually G minor. So that whole soundscape was good. However, because I like bells, the bells also add another layer of dimension and depth on top of the guitars. God bless Depeche Mode. And then you have the piano on top of that. just a wall of sound. Of course, that's not enough. That's plenty. No, that's not enough. I decided that, let's see, guitar bridge, goodbye. I decided that there needs to be more excitement and movement behind that. So what did I do? I added a stereo arpeggio because I'm a psychopath. So that's one. This is the other one. And that's in there. And it's cool because the arpeggio gives it this percussive thing. The dig it, dig it, dig it, dig it, dig it, dig it, like the triplet thing. And you in the final mix, the soundscape is fantastic. The mix sounds expensive. It's great, but there's so much going on. There's just like it gets to a level, and then it gets to another level, and by the time the bridge is done, it's like then the chorus hits like the ultimate level, in which there are no more new elements at this point. Like anything that was in the first chorus is already in the second chorus. Things that were introduced in the second chorus are now brought back for the third chorus. All the ear candy is in. I bring the bell section back for the third chorus. So that melody brings up a whole nother level. That's the second time that B flat chord happens. A very pivotal moment of refocusing the energy on a chord that never makes an appearance in the song other than the two times, one in the bridge and then one in the outro, just because it's like a very like uplifting, gonna make a left turn here, somewhat relevant to the vocals. Now for the vocals, let's see, I'm gonna go back to the piano and I'll throw on the lower bass. I didn't have the nicest microphone at the time. I had an SM7B, great microphone, not dissing that one. I had another one, which I'm not going to name, that anytime I recorded into it, it was just the worst tones, and especially in the 250 to like 500 or 600 hertz range, and it killed me. I was like, my voice sucks. I'm like, I probably sound like this. I'm doomed for life. No, it was the microphone. It created like this vortex type thing, and no matter what I did, I always had to EQ that 200 to 600 range out in whatever capacity. And I was recording in my bedroom. I tried recording in a closet. I bought moving blankets. I made all these different versions of booths, and I know you're not supposed to record in a closet, but I hate to tell you, it did some great takes, and that shit works. So if that's all you got, fuck it, man. Sometimes you gotta do it. So with the vocals, pretty standard. There's leads. Sometimes I copy the lead and then I do make it dirty, and distorted and then layer that in to make it more aggressive. Just because of, saturation tends to make things more exciting. So let's see, this is the verse. Oh, wait a minute, but dude, you have to unmute the vocal bus.
Ever wish words that hurt never made a sound?
And this little vocal throw, so typical.
Ever fall so hard, wish you never hit the ground? One day these things I know will turn around.
Definitely relied on tuning in the song.
But I don't trust my luck before my time runs out.
Alright, and then the chorus vocal, God, did so many. Alright, so I'm going to break down the chorus because it's somewhat more important. Okay, I'll go back. Okay, so I have the lead.
I never want a life erase that memories of my mistakes. Scars that were made to see.
So the copy of the lead vocal gives it more space. So same thing, there's no phasing. I might have changed the pitch and or inverted it so they're not competing.
I never want a life erase
The stubble's
that
dirty.
memories of my mistakes. The scars that were made to see.
I like soft vocals too.
Never gonna break me. I know that I'm not bulletproof.
Because it has this soft texture where your ears can just feel it even if it can't hear it. And the spectrum, or sound field, I should say, of what you can hear, like near, far, high, low, the vocal field just like opens up. So I'm only 5 vocals in.
I never want a life erase.
And it sounds full. It sounds great.
That memories of my mistakes.
Shitty microphone or not.
The scars that were made to see. You're never gonna break me. I know that I'm not bulletproof, but I know that I'll never lose my armor that's a part of me. You're never gonna break me.
Okay, so then I also have a low.
I never want a life erase.
It probably sounds crazy.
I never want a life erase that memories of my mistakes. The scars that were on me to see.
I think it was really hard to sing that. You're never gonna break me. Because it was so low, and even my mixer was like, dude, as long as it's in there, it doesn't have to sound perfect. But sonically, without using Alter Boy too, sonically, it fills out the entire vocal of the vocal stack, and it sounds a little crazy, but no one really hears it. You're definitely not going to hear it on top of all the shit that you've heard so far. But it fills out that stack. And in the first chorus, I introduce this harmony. I'll do it with the soft ones.
I never want a life erase that memories of my mistakes. The scars that were made to see. You're never gonna break me. I know that I'm not bulletproof, but I know that I'll never lose my armor that's a part of me. You're never gonna break me. Ever.
And with harmonies too, I'm sure other people do. I mean, there's multiple ways to figure it out, whether you sit at the piano or not, but I really like to just go for it. And then in Melodyne, if something sounds fine. Make a copy of it. Then you have two. One is the first harmony, and then you have a second harmony that you can layer on top of that. And sometimes I just move notes around, and it sounds super simple because for me, being, you know, not that advanced with harmony training or melody, you know, melodies and harmonies and all that, I'm just like, fuck it. I can just move these notes around, draw shit in, and if I like it, I'm like, cool, that's what I'm going to sing to. And then you can create 4-part harmonies or 3-part harmonies or whatever, and do it on a grid where you're like, these notes form this chord. When it moves to the next chord, these notes make this chord, and that fits on top of the one underneath that. And I'm very visual, so that's what helps me, especially get into the trickier territory. Because we're on the chorus, I'm going to jump into the second chorus because more harmonies kick in. So
I never want a life erased.
That's the first harmony. This is with the second harmony on top. This is the second harmony.
I never want a life erased.
So this one's going up.
I never want a life erased. Bad memories are my mistakes. The scars are where I'm made to see.
So now you have the second harmony, which giving it more left, because I only did left and right for the first harmony. The second harmony I felt compelled to do.
I never want a life erased. Bad memories are my mistakes.
Doesn't sound great either, but that's in the center. And then I felt compelled to do the falsetto.
I never want a life erased. Bad memories are my mistakes. The scars are where I'm made to see.
Definitely not perfect.
You're never gonna break me. I know that I'm not bulletproof.
And then these.
I know that I'm not bulletproof.
These are super verged out. That's crazy.
I know that I'm not bulletproof. I know that I'll never lose.
Just like another layer, but all together. I mean, those probably definitely made an appearance in the mix somewhere. But all of this stacked up. Different versions of a soft vocal, different versions of a harder vocal, like full voice.
I know that I'm not bulletproof, but I know that I'll never lose my armor, that's a part of me. You're never gonna break me.
And then it's a bridge lands. I did supporting vocals for the Never Gonna Break Me.
You're never gonna break me. I know that I'm not bulletproof.
I love that. Let me get back. So these are just verbed out lo-fi.
You're never gonna break me.
I love reverb. So let's go to the final chorus. Actually, you know what? Let's see. Is there anything in the verse? So let's just do the second verse really quick. Bum, bum, bum. So this. Okay, cool.
Ever ask why you lie awake every night? You gotta just let go and quit holding on so tight. It's not worth the fight. We're ever gonna make it out of here alive. So give it some time. Just give it some time.
That high vocal is from the Little Altar Boy, and I love it because it gives it this, could be a female harmony or female backing vocal, but it's not. It's just me with my voice creating a higher dynamic within the vocal stack. And there's a great road trail.
Some time. Just give it some time.
Fantastic. And that feeds into the second chorus. Already did the second chorus. Bridge, there are no vocals, so let's go into the culmination of the song, which is the third chorus, which is just stacks on stacks of vocals. So we did the lead, the double, the lo-fi, the soft vocal, the first harmony, and the second harmony. I mean, how many vocals is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 13 vocals. Fucking crazy. So I'm going to keep these Never Gonna Break Me tags in. Do I add another harmony? I don't add another harmony, but I add a response. And the response to me it didn't feel contrived. It felt like it belonged without being, like, appropriate, without being stale or being too flashy. It just, like, served the call and response dynamic. And I was like, cool, that's it. Boom, done. So these guys, just taking a phrase and it just goes down, whatever the last interval is, minor third, major third. But that to me filled in the back half of the chorus in a really nice way before it has like the tiny little instrumental that puts the proverbial bow on the song. But these are all of the vocals for the last chorus. And there's a couple other accents that I do. I guess we're going to find out. Because those weren't in the those weren't in the second chorus.
I never want a life erased. Bad memories of my mistakes. The scars are where I'm made to see. You're never gonna break me. I know that I'm not bulletproof, but I know that I'll never lose my armor, that's a part of me. You're never gonna break me. You're never gonna break me. You're never gonna break me.
Super cool song. So straightforward, it's almost painful. But I really enjoyed writing the song. I think lyrically it's very strong. I think a lot of people can relate to it. I learned a lot writing this song. Even looking back on like all the mistakes that I made with like EQ stuff or buses and whatnot. And I did some cool stuff in this song too. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The ARP makes another appearance in the end of the song. The hi pad comes back. Yeah, like let's just play you guys can listen to it. It's on the internet. But I think hearing things solo is more important than hearing it together, but the way that things build in the chorus is kind of incredible. Because you know what? I'm gonna mute the drums because the drums are so like, they're just drums. So we have the bass, the chorus pad, and then we hook from there. And we get the pump pad, guitars. Art makes it on chorus. So this is actually, let's do
I never wanna love erase and memories of my mistakes. The scars are where I'm made to see. You're never gonna break me. I know that I'm not bulletproof, but I know that I'll never lose my hunger that's a part of me. You're never gonna break me. You're never gonna break me. You're never gonna break me.
a pretty layered song. Cool. Well, that's that. That's Reflection. Until next time, folks. Peace.